Hello and welcome to RealityFuturesTrading.com. In today's video, I'm going to be going over some of the trades that I took live in the Reality Room trading room. And to be honest with you, I wanted to address a thing in the business that is called revenge trading. Revenge trading is where you think you're going to get even with the market after you have had a loser, and it is definitely not a good mindset to adopt. All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to get started with the first trade of the day that I took here on the NASDAQ. All right, so I get this huge run up here during the overnights. I counted this as my first leg. I've got my pullback. I'm using my Eagle Trend Trader. I've got a nice green filter, green bars. My entry bar is above the band, and I've got room to get to the high of the day. Well, I filled on the trade right here, and guess what? Immediately, the trade goes against me. Well, I was using my last pivot as a stop, so I survived. And then, as you can see, price starts rising and headed towards the Globex high yet again. Now, I was still in this original trade right here, and when I got this signal here, I was actually tempted to even add to the position, but I decided to pass. Long story short, as the trade moved up, I did tighten my stop up to this pivot right here. I saved myself about $100. I got taken out on 3 contracts right there. First trade out of the gate. Oh my gosh, what a bummer. I got taken out. Guess what, folks? This is trading. Trading is not perfect. Not every signal, no matter how good it looks, is going to be 100% of the time. All right, so as you can imagine, I took this trade in front of a bunch of people. I was a little upset about it. So what am I going to do? I get this signal right here. I got that one right here. However, I don't have a full transition of my soft edge below my hard edge to go short, which is what I have down here. Rather than get vengeful, I kept my cool, I kept my patience, and I passed on this trade right here. The very next trade setup that I get right here, this is a good setup. I've almost got a transition. On the entry, it transitions right here. I had a valid trade, but the problem with this trade is, look what time it is. It's 9:40 Mountain Standard Time or 11:40 Eastern Standard Time. That violates my rules of taking a trade during the East Coast lunch hour. So I passed on this trade as well. Once again, I kept my cool. I kept my head. Price falls down below, breaks the low of the day, travels back up, and lo and behold, guess what? If we look close, price dips up into the band. However, this bar, the body is barely touching the band. My entry bar is outside the band, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Nice red filter, red warning dot, red short entry triangle, and a red short entry hash mark. I entered this trade right here. Now, it appeared that I was fighting a little bit of divergence, but I didn't worry too much about it, as it looked like the trend was definitely changing to the downside today. I did take some heat on this. However, I used my recent pivot as my stop. I got to give my trades room to breathe. First target comes off without a problem. Second target comes off without a problem. And I actually jumped ship on my third target right here for a nice winning trade. Next, I'm going to show you a trade that I took on the TF as well. Okay, this is a TF trade. I took this on the Russell 2000. I actually took this trade shortly after the NQ trade that I just showed you. What I'm waiting for here is this. I'm waiting for a red filter dot right down here. I'm waiting for a red sell warning dot. I'm waiting for a red short entry triangle and a red hash mark. And I also want my Falcon swing line to be magenta. Well, as you can see, we had this big drop here. I missed it. I get a pop. I drop here. I passed on this trade right here because my Falcon swing line was still green. And look, my filter's still green. I'm not going to take this buy signal right here because we're in a pretty steep down move right there. And also, my Falcon swing line is flat. So I patiently waited, and lo and behold, my price drops, closes below the Falcon swing line, red warning dot, red short entry triangle, red short entry hash marks. I actually marketed it in. I got a slightly better fill. Again, I'm using my last pivot as my stop. Took a little bit of heat on this one, but lo and behold, watch the Falcon swing line roll over. I took my first two targets off here at 827.60. I didn't want to be greedy. And I'll tell you what, frankly, I wasn't feeling the love, and I was already up a fair amount on my third target. So I just went ahead and I decided to flatten my entire account. Either way, I finished my day out profitable today, and I was able to do so by just keeping a calm, cool head. And I did it by not taking every signal that comes down the pike, whatever sort of looked good. I waited for the good setups. I waited for my filter dots, my warnings, my triangles, and my hash marks. I waited for everything to line up the way that it should. Well, all right. I hope you found this video to be helpful and informative. If you have any questions, please contact me at Ray at Reality Futures Trading anytime. Thanks and have a good day.